What do you enjoy most about your role as a CEO, Shirley?
Freedom. Freedom. Um, I say that, and in some ways, as you know, as CEO, the less freedom you have, in the sense of you've got a lot of stakeholders and a lot of people that you're trying to consult with and make sure that you're part of it. So I'm always cautious when I say that, because it really isn't. But I think it's ultimately, I'm just very, very proud of the organization. That when it all is boiled down, the loyalty and the commitment that I see from our staff, it really is magical. And I've really seen a lot of that during the last year with COVID. People working long hours and very, very committed to the bigger prize, to the picture. I'm actually thrilled and privileged to actually be part of that and to be part of a team that has all that energy. I look at like a sports team, there's nothing more exhilarating when you're part of a team that's winning and you feel good about the success, but you also feel great about being a member of the team. And that's actually what I enjoy with it, because I think it goes back to, again, the people thing and the happiness thing. It's amazing to be part of a group where we're working hard, they're happy, and they're committed to what they're doing, and we're all working together within that. That's something fantastic to be leading. That is it's just, when I really do boil it down, that's the thing that's sort of over the years and continues to be very, I call it delightful, is really the word I would be using with it. There is something to be said. I am not the CEO I was when I first started. So many different ways, both physically, mentally, and everything else. But I think it's not a matter that we have to say X amount of years, but it does take, there is that what I would call sort of development time that's critical within it. As I say, I just know myself, I am clearly not. There's certainly some elements that have remained exactly the same, but I mean, hopefully there's been some learning and my own insight along the way that actually have been what has really helped to be a good leader in today and in the future.
Yeah. How would you describe how you've changed today, the CEO that you are today?
I think the focus on results has never changed. I am very results oriented, and the focus on clarity of what needs of context versus directing people. And I always have said, if I need to direct you to do what needs to be done, then that's sort of odd. What I need to be doing is explaining where the end point is and then giving you the resources and the enablement to accomplish it. I don't think that has changed. I think the understanding of time, I have changed. I had great impatience with how quickly things could and should be able to be changed and executed. And I have come to realize that time sometimes is important and critical. I think also, I really do understand the need when you're trying to come up with solutions and design things differently, how important front-ending that is, getting input, advice, stakeholders. Because I'm so action-oriented and results, typically that's where I would shortchange. I know the problem, I know what needs to happen, this is where we need to go, so here we all go. And I think the world has become more complicated too, but I do now have, I think, more attention to the front end of things and more, what's the data we have, what's the evidence we have, where I think before I would just call it maybe entrepreneurial and faster with it. And I think some of it is just now the size and magnitude of the organization. I've almost changed with it to what has been required in a different way. But I mean, there's many people say, there's there, you kind of are who you are to some extent. Maybe I apologize now much more faster than I ever used to. That is probably how I have changed, that I'm quicker to right away go, no, okay, you're right. I apologize. Let's move forward. Because I've realized there's no point sort of trying to stand on ceremony because it slows you down.
So did you always set goals? Did you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan for yourself?
I think in some ways, yes. And in other ways, no, in that I kind of had a direction, but constantly looked at, are things changing? Is another door opening? And I would allow myself to go through that door, even if it seemed to be a little bit different than what I had viewed sort of, never did sort of a 5-year things, but I did do more, okay, I'll see what this is like for a couple of years. And then, quite frankly, happiness was a big measure for me. Mm-hmm. That if I was doing something and was feeling happy and feeling fulfilled and feeling that I was creating some kind of value, those were the triggers. And could have been 6 months. And if I wasn't happy with something, I'd move on, knowing that is such an important piece to your own success in your work, that if you're doing something and you're not feeling good about it, no matter how hard you try it's going to be a challenge for you. And I'm not, many people talk about goals. I am one for little goals, because I do find, and achievable ones. So I do think sometimes if you have them and they're too stretched, I kind of have small goals and big dreams, and not too much in between.
Yeah, I like that, because you can have those goals, but if you're not doing those little steps, it's going to be very hard to ever get there. So it's the tiny actions, things you do every day that are more important than those big goals.
Yeah. And I think we've seen that with sort of behavior mod and many of sort of the weight reductions, and other programs. And I think the theory behind that is very correct. And I think you're absolutely right. You have to see small bits of success to keep you motivating and moving forward. But sometimes I find the end point looks and can be different than when you start and think what the end point is. Right. And that's why I always kind of keep the end and the dream open, because I want to make sure it's striving at even a higher level than what I thought it could be at the very beginning. Yeah. But it's sort of a multifaceted way of looking at continuing to motivate yourself. And I think what's critical with so many people is to know yourself and know what motivates you and know what works. Because I know we now have these sort of programs and prototypes of what everyone needs to function with. And as we know, we're all designed differently. And what helps us achieve and feel energized can be very, very different from one person to the next. And some people say to me, I have my notebook and I get everything and things to do, and I know that would de-energize me. I'd start getting very anxious if I knew all of this stuff. For me, it's more where I'll just quickly react to things. That would drive some other people crazy, that they go, no, I need a roadmap. So I always say, so it doesn't really matter that it's consistent. What matters is that it's going to work for what will motivate you. Yeah.
It's the being aware of your own self and your own abilities, your strengths, your weaknesses.
Yeah. And in this day and age too, where there's so much external pressure and expectation, to make sure that isn't what's driving what you think you need to do. And that's a tough thing, because that takes sometimes years and wisdom to know that you're okay with what you want to do versus what you think you should be doing. And that is another piece with how you look at goals and what you're striving for versus what you think you should be striving for based on an external factor.
What are some of your big dreams right now? What's the vision that you have?
Gosh, I mean, that is the $1 million question. I do, the big dream, certainly in Canada, I do wish we could be dealing with different solutions for the aging population, that rather than people who are aging being fearful of that and all of their options, that they could be just delighted to be reading and moving into the next chapter of their life. Where so many people now that I talk to, especially older people, they're so fearful. They're so fearful of what's next and what's going to happen. And are they going to be able to manage on their own? Are they going to be able to stay in their own home? Are they going to remain healthy and well? And my big dream is we could create a number of more effective solutions. And I'm cautious with my words because I'm not saying really a healthcare system or a better social system, a whole ecosystem that builds on the strengths of what older people can bring in the next chapter of their lives, and actually learn from, I do believe, other countries that are doing a better job of the future of aging, in the sense that those people have hopefulness. Where I do think as Canadians, we, generally speaking, older people are fearful of that their choices will be limited, their options will be limited. So it's a big dream that's very open-ended, because people go, well, what does that look like? And I go, I don't know what it looks like, but I think if you measured what it would look like for me, is if you really ask people about their hopefulness and happiness as they are aging, that it would be at a much higher confidence level than it's at now. That's how it would look like for me.
I really like that, tying into people's own happiness, because it's so different and unique to every person.
Yeah, exactly.